Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Welcome back to the channel. The General is here, and today we're going to talk about some end of the line defense. The role we had today had a lot of that.
Sure did.
A lot of on both parts, trying to survive and not get choked out. I don't know how this man survived a couple of the attempts.
Hate in my heart.
Yeah. So, do you want to go first or let me go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. So one of the things, if you watch the roll, you might see whenever Mike is trying to choke me, say from my back, so if you're on my back, one of the things I'm trying to feel, especially if we're so this way, and so his choking arm's here, right? So we ended up here a lot, and so Mike is using his head and his arm here, and I usually have something on his hand here. But what's really I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling that there's this zone here, like here, that my weight can go into that escapes my neck from the choke. And so if you'll watch, Mike is trying to keep that, but I'm trying to escape my weight into that place. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of this, like I'm not being choked right now, right? Like I'm not out, but I'm not being choked right now. He can't finish the choke if my weight is just kind of in here, so he has to do these adjustments. So that's just like one example of like a technical thing I think about, but there's also sort of like a more internal thing I think you were doing more than I was.
Yeah, so well, to piggyback off yours, right? Like you're like finding like, and I guess I did the same thing with the inside buggy. You're finding where like the weak point is in the strangle, right? Or look at it like this way, like the last step I need to take as the strangler to actually finish it, right? And that last step is for me to close that circle. So he knows that he needs to keep that circle open, and the tool that he has to do it is his head in this instance, because as you saw, he was controlling my other hand, which took that tool away from me as well. So it's like understanding, hey, why am I still alive in here? And like, all right, that's the last detail. Okay, how do I battle for that last detail? Okay, so for the same example, I was in an inside buggy, and my elbow happened to be down on the arm that was inside the strangle happened to be down on the hip. And that was just giving me the slightest bit of like life, right? And I'm like, okay, as soon as that elbow moves, this is over. I'm going to be strangled here, okay? So then I start to think, all right, how can I get myself out? All right, I have to change something. I can't just stay exactly where I am to get out. I have to change something. If I were to circle right, which would be bringing my legs down towards Jarrett's legs, the elbow would then start to move across this way. I'd be circling myself into it. Think about, we all know triangle chokes. Think about circling the wrong way when you're in a triangle choke. Same thing here, right? So I knew I couldn't do that. And then as I started to circle left, my elbow started to lift up. Therefore, it would take away the frame that I had for that little bit. So I decided my best course of action at that moment was to stay there, which brings us to our next like step. It's like finding relaxation, you know? So in that, I do want to talk about yesterday too.
Yeah.
In that finding relaxation spot, the circumstances allowed me, like, now it was unbelievably miserable, right? So you have to like dig deep and realize that you hate yourself, okay? That's step one to surviving this. So while I'm in this, trying to find peace, and like, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna live here and live here. I knew that the role set in which we competed with each other in today was on my favor for that. We were doing sub only today, right? We do roughly an hour, and whatever submission occurs nearest an hour mark, we're like, all right, that's the time for today, right? We don't, no timer, nothing like that. So I knew I was either getting submitted, I was either gonna get strangled, or I was not gonna get strangled. Those were the two options, but time was on my side. Whereas yesterday, he succeeded on the inside buggy on me. And I think today's was just as tight as yesterday's. I think one of the difference to yesterday's was the rule set had changed. We were in an open mat, therefore we're changing partners, therefore we're doing timed rounds, you know, because if you just go to submission, well then group A gets a submission and they're not gonna wait for group B, right? So like we do timed rounds in our open mats so we can get to train with all of our friends. And the way I look at that is, if I'm in that buggy, when the bell rings, it's the same as me getting subbed with it, right? I have now, like the onus is on me to escape. So through my attempts to escape, right, it allowed the buggy to finish that last little bit. And I understand why now, because of today's buggy, right? Like knowing that if I circle left, the elbow moves here, if circle right, the elbow moves there. So I'm starting to understand like more of the little details that give me the knowledge on how to survive in there and how to know like which angles I'm looking for to stay alive on that last line of defense. And I think the ability to relax in there allowed me to gain that knowledge. If I was not able to relax in there, I wouldn't have been able to like think like, why am I not unconscious when I feel like I'm like fully in, you know? And I'm like, okay, this is the little bit that's open. Why is it open? And then I could kind of pick it apart and, you know, figure out what to do. And who knows, maybe in a different sub or a different submission in a different situation, I figure out a whole way out, you know, and then it saves you.
Yeah, and additionally, there's like an element of, we talked about this in the video before, of the internal connection, like the aspect number one of the connection, which is yourself. So just thinking about how if, you know, I'm being choked and say the rear naked choke, if I can relax myself, then maybe I can move my blood vessels a little bit away, or free them away from the pressure of the choke. I think a lot of times people talk about internal, like martial arts and stuff. They think about like spiritual shit. It's like, no, that just means what's my body is doing, unrelated to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it. Like, you guys probably do it in a sense where you don't even notice. Like, if you're like in an arm lock, right? You may turn your arm just ever so slightly. Like, imagine like the arm lock's got to be applied this way. Turn it ever so slightly, and now it's not going to be applied as well in that direction. I do the same thing, like with like moving the arteries or whatever. I like think in my head, like what goes on in my head is like I'm protecting it. So like I flex my neck, and I don't know what's actually happening, but in my head, I visualize that like my neck muscles are like covering my arteries. So now you're fighting into the muscle before the artery. Therefore, it makes it harder to collapse them. You know, to like pinch the hose there. So I like to like, and I'm like, yeah, look how big my neck muscles are. They're definitely protecting that. Yeah.
But it's not you like. It's like that's different.
Yeah. No. It's like
It's just a. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to. Yeah. I don't know. I can't explain it.
It's hard.
Just do it.
It's like it's like when say, hey, just try to relax.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks for watching. Do the liking and the subscribing. Keep yourself safe. Hit the bell. And
Come down and train. New York. Unique New York.
all right, that should be fine.
Nice.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.